Hello, I'm back. We're back. It's back. We're live. We're almost to week one. Wanted to drop in, take a look at a couple of more teams just to try and get on the record. Me hating your squad. Um, and I want to do it before the season starts so that I can nag you about my prescient abilities later on. Friendly reminder, please go out to the league page and vote if you haven't voted yet. If you use a laptop, here, as you can see on my screen, the poll is right there on the side. Woohoo, woohoo, you see it there. If you use your cell phone in the app, I'll float a couple of screenshots out here. You can go here and then here to cast the vote there. So please get your vote out there. Right now we've got two, but I did have a nice chat with a member of the league. Yes, this actually happened. And it was suggested by this person that we just do a full reset if we expand. And I'm actually on board with that. If expansion does come to pass, we will have reached the point where just about half the league are transplants in. We had Cody swap in, we had Brian swap in, expand a couple teams. So, I mean, if we reach that point, doesn't it make sense to give everybody a clean chance at it? So, I don't know. Just thinking out loud. Again, we can totally address this later on. Maybe at Drafts Sports Bar on September 17th, which is a thing that we're going to try and do. So, pencil that in on your calendar. Maybe save it on your Google Calendar or iCal or whatever the head the kids are doing these days. I don't know. September 17th, we're going to try and turn drafts into the awful enclave. So, yes. And if you're in the Fargo Moorhead area, let's carpool. You can ride with me for sure. Um, Last year, I think we got together and we watched, I think, the Eagles dismantle the Cowboys. Pretty sure that that was the game that poor Joe had to suffer through at Tailgaters. But to be fair, we all kind of suffered through Tailgaters because, man, that place has really turned into a shithole. Sorry about that. Anyway, we did look at my team last week because, of course, we did. A quick recap on the grades that were given to my squad. Quarterback got an A+, running back a D+, wide receiver A minus, tight end C, DL a B, linebacker a C, and the DBs got a B, which averaged out to about a C+ average. Whoop, whoop. So yeah, I'll try and take a look at a couple of teams this week. I won't drag it on too long. I'll try and move it quick, but a couple of teams takes a little bit of time. It might mean less fun graphics and fly out messages, but here we go. Offering my brand of insight to Team Joe, the Blue Star Magic. Here you can see Fantasy Pros has him ranked 10th. The positional breakdown there. Let's get his squad up over here. And note that ESPN has actually moved him up in their projections a few spots. He's now at 7th above myself, Cody, and Brian's teams. So, anyway, what are we dealing with here? Boop, 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 boop. Oh, killing me with this load time. At quarterback, we've got Lamar Jackson, and on the bench, we've got Dak Prescott. Now, to me, that's a pretty good deal. There's been a lot of talk about a potential sea change in what Baltimore does on offense. Our guy Carl, he's a huge skeptic, but he's impartial. So, a couple of what ifs. If Lamar is healthy, and if his weapons can stay healthy, we got OBJ, Rashad Bateman, and Zay Flowers. I really don't see a reason that Lamar couldn't finish as a better passer than he did during his MVP season. That was 3,100 yards, 66% completion. I think he had 26 passing touchdowns. Those aren't world beating numbers. He only had 5 turnovers, 5 picks that year. So would that number go up? Yeah, for sure. But we could see something like 3,500 yards passing, 30 touchdowns, maybe a dozen picks. If you tack on even 500 yards rushing and a couple touchdowns there, I mean, that's huge, and it's not impossible. He's been on that pace or put up similar numbers to that a couple of times in injury shortened seasons. You know, if he would have played a full 17, who knows what would have happened. So, yeah, there's some injury risk there, but like I said, we got Dak sitting on the bench. That's a fantastic backup. You know, what a number two. He could even be a spot fill in during some weird matchups. So Joe's quarterbacks, solid A. The running back position, we've got Nick Chubb, we've got Zach Charbonnet, we've got Jamal Williams and Brian Robinson. They still have Cordero Patterson listed as a running back, but I think in reality he's more likely going to be like a Percy Harvin wide receiver, lining up in the slot, moving around a lot. I don't think he'll see very many actual handoffs with Algier and Bijan. So, uh, yeah, a really good group. Chubb is what, one of the last three lone backs in the NFL, a guy that's going to get 80% of the carries. The rest of these guys all have upside. They might be on the wrong side of a timeshare right now, like Charbonnet, Brian Robinson. Jamal Williams might end up pulling away with a starting running back gig. We've got Kamara injured for the first 3 weeks. They might need to ease him in afterwards from there. But yeah, overall, this is a really good group. I'd give it a B. Wide receiver, I'm maybe less of a believer here. We've got DK Metcalf, we've got Debo Samuel, Gallup, and let's see, Tyler Boyd, Mecole Hardman. Um, DK Metcalf is kind of turning into a pumpkin right before our eyes. There's been a lot of hype around DK, waiting for that explosion into like the top five wide receivers. But he's super inefficient. You know, he can never turn those red zone targets into touchdowns. Now they've added Jackson Smith and Jigba. Tyler Lockett is still the most efficient wide receiver in the NFL. I don't know. It doesn't look great for Debo. I think his target share might be going backwards. Or DK. DK and Debo. That's hard. Debo took a big step backwards last year. They added McCaffrey. It could be with Brandon Ayuk becoming more part of the offense. Maybe Brock Purdy is a seventh round quarterback. There's a lot of questions that need to be answered with the 49ers passing game. So I'm not a huge believer in what Debo brings to the table. And then the other guys are all like number three dudes in their offense. So I'm not totally sold on this one. I'd maybe give this one like a D, maybe a C minus. We'll see. So tight end position, we've got Darren Waller and Dalton Schultz. Um, of the mid round tight ends that are out there, Waller probably has the highest upside of all of them. I could, if he stays healthy, I could easily see him finishing as like tight end three ahead of TJ Hawkinson and George Kittle. If his health fails him, Dalton Schultz seems like a pretty safe backup there. You know, he's going to be in that Texans offense. Could be a safety blanket for CJ Stroud there. So this group I like. I don't like tight ends, but this one I'd give like a B minus. Um, D line, we've got Micah Parsons and Matthew Judon, um, and then the rest of the Cowboys D line there as backups. Um, with Micah Parsons alone, you're going to get an A, right? Judon is also huge, so that's a really good group. Another guy that's struggled with injuries, Joey Bosa. I mean, if Joey Bosa puts up a healthy season, uh, he's almost guaranteed like 10 sacks, right? So, not a bad play there. I'd give this an A grade. Some of the depth is really just taking up space on your bench. So, obviously do what you need with that. But yeah, at least 3, 4 of those guys are rock solid, if not supreme, like Micah Parsons. So, the linebacker group, you've got Fred Warner, who's like a lock for a top 20 spot if he could stay healthy. Tremaine Edmonds is another guy who's kind of a chronic underachiever. Um, but now that he's in Chicago, maybe that becomes something bigger. But then that's it. You've got no depth after that. So this one, I'm afraid, would be a D grade. And then your DBs. We've got Diggs, Sauce, J-Ron Curse, CJ Gardner Johnson, and whoever Dallas Flowers is. Apologies if he sees this. Um, I get the appeal of Diggs, but picks are really like sacks, and that's kind of what you're banking on with the Diggs, right? Is another season like he had a couple of years ago with what, like 10, 11 picks. It's just impossible to predict. Now, Curse could end up being like the in the box safety for Dallas. He could be essentially a linebacker there, so that's really good. I really like CJ Gardner Johnson as well. He plays a similar role in Detroit. So, you ask me, those are your starters. And then you maybe flex in one of those corners as a gamble for some turnover points. Really, you're just heavily invested in DB, kind of like Ryan is. I give it a C, but you make a couple of moves there, and who knows what happens? You know, ESPN has you moving up in the projections, so take whatever I say with a grain of salt. Yeah. All right, let's do one more quick one, okay? This one I'm kind of excited about. We're going to go up the rankings in Fantasy Pros. They've got this guy ranked as number 4. Yes, the Yeti Howlers. Let's go back to the Espen homepage and see what we're cooking with over here. Doobie doobie doo. They've got him ranked at 4th as well. So, Brent, what's happening with your squad? This is unexpected. All right. At quarterback, we've got Mahomes. Enough said. That's an A grade. Running back, Tony Pollard, James Cook, Joe Mixon, Samaje Perine. You've got McKinnon out there, Jalen Warren out there, Jeff Wilson out there. That's a solid squad. I really like Tony Pollard. Has as good of a chance to finish as running back 1 overall as like any of the top 5 guys being drafted out there. Cook sounds like he secured the main role in Buffalo. Damian Harris is hurt right now, hasn't really played. Mixon sitting in your flex spot, and I mean Mixon is the guy in Cincinnati, one of the top offenses. So, and then the rest of these guys are all going to get solid playing time in the near future. This is easily an A group, so nice work there. Um, Wide receiver, I'm maybe a little bit less excited about this group. Um, CD Lamb, I mean, obviously he's a wide receiver 1. He'll finish in the top 6, 7 guys. So that's fine. Hollywood Brown, it's going to be rough in Arizona. They don't really have a quarterback right now, so hard to say what'll happen there. You do have Gabe Davis at your flex. I like Gabe. I think that could work out well. He's going to have to fight for some playing time with the rookie tight end that they just drafted, who's essentially a slot receiver. So there's that. What else? We've got Juju, Brandon Cooks, Jaden Reed. There's some upside with those guys. Cooks and Reed could end up being big in those offenses. Some question marks, though. Uh, the closer I look, I actually maybe like this team a little bit more, or this position group a little bit more. So I'd give it a C plus, and there's room to move up from there. Uh, Tight end. We need to address the elephant in the room. Where the hell is Blake Jarwin? I see Kyle Pitts. I see Pat Fryermuth. I don't see Blake Jarwin. I I mean that's almost enough to get you an A right there. Um, really though, this group isn't bad. Pitts is going to get targets. Preseason trends have shown that Pitts is maybe not getting the optimal lineup situations, in those kind of 3 receiver sets and stuff like that. But still he's a weapon. I really like Fryermuth. I was actually going to draft him the round that you ended up with him, so there's that. Um, but yeah, another really good group. I give it a B minus. Um, D line: Brian Burns, Chris Jones, Cam Jordan. Um, on the face, these guys are fantastic. But that's just on the face because if we look closer, Carolina is going to be absolutely atrocious on offense, and that's going to hurt the pass rush. Um, Chris Jones had a super strong second half of the season, but he's still holding out. It doesn't sound like they're close. There's already been some changes on the front seven in Kansas City that might limit that same pass rush efficiency that he had. If he starts, he's going to start slow. He hasn't practiced at all this preseason, so that's going to tank his production in the early part of the year. I don't know, Chris Jones. That's a big question mark right now. Cam Jordan is safe, but safe for what? Maybe 10 sacks. That's like his ceiling. So I don't know. Anyway, there's upside here. It's risky right now. C plus, hopefully. Linebacker, you've got Demario Davis, Nick Bolton, C.J. Mosley, Cole Holcomb. This is a pretty bomb group. Um, let's see. Mosley and Bolton are damn near locks for top 10 linebacker. I think they've finished that way the last couple of years. Holcomb could end up being the next great Pittsburgh linebacker. He was good in Washington, but with that Pittsburgh coaching, this could be a role that he was destined to fill. So that's something. Um, Demario Davis, much like Cam Jordan, his counterpart in New Orleans, just a safe backup. Nothing spectacular, but again, this group really good. I'd give it a B plus, maybe even up into the A grade territory. DB, you've got Honey Badger and Kevin Byard. Byard, Byard. I honestly don't know how to say that. But this group is just a mayonnaise sandwich. You could find better guys on the waiver wire right now, so I give this one a D. Um, But yeah, I mean, surprisingly, you're looking really good. And a couple of even quick moves on the waiver wire at like the DB position would turn this group into like a B grade overall. So we'll see what happens, man. But I really like it. I'm a believer, and for whatever that's worth, it looks like Fantasy Pros and ESPN are also believers. So kudos to you. Um, that's where we'll stop for now. We've got Joe, we've got my team, we've got Brent. We'll try and cram a couple more again later. But yeah, there we go. Enjoy that. We'll catch you later.